Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about how can we create a web API using PHP and connect those API to our database. In the previous video, we have already created a database called taxi. And as you remember, we have created a tables called drivers inside this. And also we have talked about how can we use the SQL statement. Let's add another driver, for example, and let's suppose that it is Omar with this number. Okay, and click on go. So now we have two drivers inside our table. Now, how can we add third one but using the PHP? In this case, I'm going to use the NetBeans. Of course, you can use any IDE you want. Now, here in the NetBeans, to create a new project, just click on File and select New Project. And then here, on the left hand, you will see something called a PHP, and on the right hand, select PHP application, and then select Next. Now, let's suppose that we are going to call this project as Web API. Okay, Web API project. And then go to the browse, and you should put this project inside C, inside WAMP64, inside www. Inside this folder, you should put your website. Okay, so now copy / and then again paste, which means create a folder with the name of our project inside the www, and then click on finish. So don't forget to put your project inside C WAMP64 www folder. Now, how can we create a PHP file or a web file? In this case here, on the left hand, you will see your project, Web API project, with a subfolder called source file. Just right click on the source file, select new, and select PHP file. Let's suppose that we are going to call this file, for example, add, and then click on finish. Now, how can we add a PHP file which will be used to add a data inside our table? In this case, I'm going to make many steps for that. We have 4 steps which used in PHP to add data from the PHP file to the database. The first one called the connection. By using the connection, all what you need to define a variable or an object. In PHP, each variable should start with a $sign. Of course, if you want more information about creating website using PHP, you can enroll in my course, which is called PHP from zero to hero. Anyway, now to connect to database, just use this line con equal new MySQLi, and then pass 4 parameters. The first parameter is the server name, which is localhost, because I'm going to use my local database. Then what is the username? The username is root. As you remember in the previous videos, when we log on to our database, it asks about the username and password. The username by default is root, and the password by default is empty string. Now, what is my database name? My database name is taxi. So in this case, I'm going to write the database name here, which is taxi. So this is the first step, which is called the connection. This is the first step, which is called connection. So the connection is how can we connect our web page to the database using those 4 parameters: server name, username, password, and the database name. The second step is called the statement. And here we are going to use this code. st define new object for the statement, which is refer to the object connection with the function prepare. In PHP, this symbol, which is called refer to or point to, is used instead of dot in Kotlin or in other programming language. So here in the prepare, you should write your SQL statement. And here I'm going to write insert into driver's name, comma, mobile values 1 and 2, which means insert into the drivers table only for the name and the mobile. As you remember in the previous videos, we make the ID as auto increment, so we don't need to add data to the ID. Now, what are the values you are going to add for those name and mobile? I have told him they are web parameters, which means they are not defined, and I'm going to define them on runtime. The last thing, or the third line here, I'm going to add or to define the parameters. The parameters is how to define those question marks by using the following functions, which is called bind param. In the bind param, we have two parts. The first part, what are the data type of those question marks? I'm going to use S and again S, because both name and mobile are strings. Because when I create a database, I have defined the name and mobile as a varchar. So this is the first part. The second part is using the system array or the global array, which is called $_ get, and define the name of the variables or the columns, which is name and mobile. So this statement means those two question mark are strings. The first question mark define the name, and the second question mark define the mobile. Okay, and the last thing now is the execute, which execute all the previous code by defining st, which is the statement refer to execute. Now let's try this example. Remember, those 4 lines are always used when you are going to add or update or delete data to your table. So I'm going to change here the browser to Chrome. Then how can we run this file? Save, and then right click and select run file. Now here I'm going to add 8080 and then name equal, for example, Ahmed, and mobile equal 4545788009, and press enter, and we have got this empty page. Now when we go to our database and click on the drivers table, yes, as you can see here, Ahmed with his mobile number has been added. So in this video, we have talked about how can we add a data from our PHP file to the database. Please study this code multiple times because it is very important, and we will need this code when we start our project, which is the taxi application. So see you in the next video.